Well, welcome to bonus time of the Post-Evangelical podcast. This podcast is a special gift to those in the Pastor Paul support community. Thank you for helping enable our work to spread this message far and wide, that God is not mad at the world. I am so grateful for you, more than you could know. And would you do me a favor? As after listening to this podcast, would you go to pastor-paul.com and go to the community chat board and answer the questions we're asking around this podcast, including, do you believe cisgender monogamy is the only approved sexuality in the Bible? We would love to hear your thoughts on that. Now to April and Beecher in bonus time, the Post-Evangelical podcast. We're hanging out with April and Beecher from the Non-Binary Marriage podcast. Just had a very lively discussion that got into all kinds of embarrassing topics, and so it's all out on the table now. But one thing, April, that as I've just been listening to you talk, like how hard to learn the pronouns thing. How hard has it been to, like in the video we showed earlier, you had to change to partner from husband, and you're using the different pronouns. Has that been difficult for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not as difficult as I thought it would be. Like when we were talking high level early on, like, oh, your pronouns. Because I was trying to convince Beecher, like, why don't you just do he, they to give people grace? And I was really thinking of myself. But I've been trying to think of, like, I've been trying in the last year or so to start using spouse or partner, not knowing where Beecher would land. And I don't think that husband is necessarily dysphoric for Beecher. But one, out of respect for them, but also I just like more gender inclusive terms anyway that are just more gender neutral, trying to just be more cognitive of that. But yeah, no, it's still a struggle, especially because like some of our family and people around still use he. So when I'm around them, it's a lot harder for me to keep up with they, because like I'm hearing he, and I've also known Beecher for almost a decade, and I've only started using they in the last few months. So yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment, but Beecher's the one that's been showing me so much grace, because when I say he, I mean they, them, Beecher's like, it's really the effort that counts. But I'm getting much better. So
I've found that to be true, Beecher, and maybe you can speak to this, because I know sometimes people are like, oh, now pronouns and what's next? And, I hear all these, kind of grumbles, but I have found when you try, even if you get it wrong, if you try, or sometimes if I ask, I found, non-binary people or LGBTQ plus friends that just, it means so much that you try. Is that kind of been your experience as you're coming out with different pronouns?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, effort is everything. And that's with family members too, even beyond pronouns. If I see an effort, are they trying? That allows me to have so much patience and so much grace, because it's all I'm wanting is just people to make an effort. And so, yeah, no. And I mean, April and I talked about he, they, we talked about he, they, she, like having all the pronouns. And then once again, in those conversations, I was like, if I do he, they, or I do any pronouns, it is going to be he every single place, every person. And I said, that's what I can't live with. I'm like, if a he comes out now every now and again, honestly, it's not very dysphoric for me. I can handle it.
Which is also different for other people.
Absolutely. Every trans person that I've talked to is different and has, but as far as me in my life, if it was all he all day long, that's when I start to feel shame and kind of start to spiral, so to speak. So that's really why I went with they, them, because I feel like it's really comfortable. I'm really comfortable with it. It feels like it fits me. But yeah, if he slips out here and there, it's to me, it's not big a deal. It's just if it was all the time. And that's what I was afraid of with he, they, or really saying any pronouns.
Or hearing, I'm sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, or it would, if I did any pronouns, I would feel this pressure to present really feminine in order to coax out a she or a they. And so I'd almost feel this opposite pressure if I'd chosen any pronouns, because I would now be like, okay, well, everyone's saying he, so now I'm going to put in breast forms. I would have gone like, I don't do that, but I'm saying I would have felt pressure to like really present more feminine, to try to coax out people actually seeing me. And I think people
which is also reinforcing gender norms.
No, that's the point.
Right.
It reinforces gender norms, but because once again, if I feel cornered over here, I'm going to try to push against it to try to move more to the middle. Where if people use they, them, I feel like I'm being seen and respected, whether I'm wearing a khakis and a button-up shirt like I did to guest lecture the other week, or if I'm wearing a dress and nails. Like I feel seen, and so I don't feel the pressure to present one way or the other. I can just present as me all the time.
And I think that's an important distinction to make. I guess you're saying it's not about dressing up as a woman necessarily. It's just being able to dress as you dress and wear makeup as you feel comfortable and excited and interested to do. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, growing up, every time, I don't know if you all ever played the game, like if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you want to have? I always, always, always said I would want the ability to turn invisible, because I just wanted to be able to be me and nobody care. And like that has been a longing of mine for so long. The reality is if I was on a deserted island right now, I'm the only person on the island. This is how I'd be looking. Like I am finally presenting exactly as I want to present, and this is how I'd be looking. And so much of the hurdle has just been overcoming the what other people are going to think. I don't go and present this way for other people. I present this way because this is me. And if other people see that, great. But once again, and that's what I've had conversations with my family. I'm like, this is me. This is what I'd present if I could wear anything in the world. And it's great to finally have a closet that I open up and look at the clothes, and I don't think, oh, wow, my mom bought this, my dad bought this, and I don't see all these clothes that were just hand-me-downs. I'm actually like, oh yeah, I love this sweatshirt. Like I looked for this for a long time. I like the cutout shoulder. Like, I don't know. So for me, it's, it's just who I am. And then as far as what other people think, I'm just trying to still overcome.
That's still a struggle at times.
So I'm going to ask you a really personal question, and you can tell me to shut up and go away. But is sexuality still contained in the marriage between the two of you? And is that out of a Christian covenant of marriage? Is that out of an agreement between the two of you? Or how does that work? Because I am trying to help people who are trying to understand, how does this work in a context of a Christian marriage and a Christian household? So super personal question.
Shut up, go away. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's move on.
So that's actually one thing that we had to figure out. So one of my biggest fears early on was that if Beecher started expressing this more and more, that I would lose attraction for them. So then I started going to therapy. Well, I actually started going to someone who kind of specialized in sex therapy. One, because I had a lot of purity culture issues, and that I felt like an object, and like I couldn't overcome this idea that my existence was to please Beecher sexually, even though like I knew that wasn't true. So I was going there for that, and then also to figure out, can I be attracted to Beecher when they're presenting more feminine? Like, or can I only have sex with Beecher if he's like full on male looking? And so in that process, I realized that I am actually either bisexual or pansexual. Like, I don't know the difference. I'm definitely not straight, because I realized like I actually find women attractive, and I also find Beecher attractive both ways. So that's something that I had to.
So you're learning about yourself in all of this.
Yeah. Yes, that's something that I had to learn too. But then I also had to overcome this idea that like I can't tell people I'm bisexual or pansexual. Like they're gonna think I'm going to hell, or they already think that, but
I will say that we are monogamous. We are only sexually active with each other. But I will say that like I am so fulfilled in our intimate life these days, and we have reached a point where we're able to explore different things. I'll just leave it at that. And so I feel 100% like, yes, I waited till marriage. I've never been with anybody but April. But at the age of 31 inside of marriage, I feel like I'm finally getting a season of figuring things out and exploring. And we like that. Oh, we didn't like that. Okay. And it's not this blow up fight. And so it's wonderful.
Well, and I think early on too, Beecher finding their own freedom in who they were was really triggering for me, because I never allowed myself to find that freedom for myself. I mean, like sexually too, I had never, like in my entire life, had an orgasm until like the last couple of years. And I will say, like, since Beecher's accepted themselves and I've accepted them, I've also accepted myself, and like our sex life has never been better. Like, it's actually good now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That is truly loving your neighbor out of love for yourself, out of learning to love one another. You're loving yourselves, and something good is flowing out of it. And I just think this is a really important point, because what do we hear all the time? If we're teaching kids about the sexuality and the sexuality spectrum that's now available to the younger generations, they're going to be way more promiscuous and way more this, that, or the other thing. And you guys are discovering better sex in a monogamous relationship than the church provided you in your belief. I think that's so important to hear and talk about.
Well, and that's another reason why I'm convinced that we're on the right path, because I've never been more in love with Beecher, and I'm so proud of them for just I've seen them at their lowest and seen them like want to do self-harm, and I'm going to get emotional, but like, yes, it's been hard for me, but being on this side of it, and like, it's just only been good fruit. Because that's something that has always been ingrained with me. Like, look at the fruit of a theology. Is it bringing bad fruit or good fruit? And when we were trying to fight this as like some kind of demon or something that was wrong, Beecher was depressed. Our marriage wasn't good. Our sex life wasn't good. We were worse parents because we were just so uptight and stressed all the time. And now that we found this freedom of like, no, like God made us this way. And it's beautiful and it's unique and it's special. And now I can love Beecher for who they are, and Beecher can love me for who I am, and not this like presentation that we were giving each other of what the church of what we should be according to evangelicalism. And so that's why we're so confident too. Like God, like we feel spirit led here. And because we checked all the boxes that the church told us. The church told us it was a demon. God didn't respond to that. The church told us it was just an addiction. God didn't respond to that. We decided, okay, let's look at this as it's a good thing. And this is something that is part of us. And now the fruit is our marriage has never been better. We're happier. Like, we're seeing so many like amazing good fruit in our relationship and in how we treat other people too, even outside of our marriage, that it's like, this has only brought good. Like there's been negative, like there's been some hate, there's been some family drama, just because they're all still in their conservative boxes, but as far as we're concerned, like we're never been better.
I'll say my favorite aspect of a relationship, and this goes with, our intimate life, but also just everything, is that April can't scare me. Like, I feel like so much early on in our relationship, we were so tied up as a fundamentalist and theologically that, I really think I might want to wear that dress. Suddenly look of fear. Oh my gosh. Like, oh, what is that? And it was with everything. Oh, what if hell doesn't exist? Oh my gosh. Like it was this panic, fear, trauma response that was awful. And now, I mean, April comes in, if she tells me something, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we can try that. And if we like it, then okay. And if we don't, then we won't do it again. And, it's not this slippery slope. Oh my gosh, this is a demon and it's leading us. Like, and that's with everything. That's with our beliefs. That's with who we are as people. Like, April's my forever partner, and there's nothing that she can say or do that'll scare me away from her. And I'm going to explore life and do life with her, and I'm incredibly fortunate and blessed to be able to do that.
I don't talk a lot about this because I don't want to out anybody accidentally, but I would say I'm working with a small number, but more than you might guess, of particularly Gen X men who are starting to say, Gosh, I'm a little bit jealous of these younger generations who are getting to be a little more free to talk about these things. And I really believe as particularly in the Gen X generation and as the millennials age up as well, that we're going to see a lot more, particularly men, that are going to start to say, yeah, there's always been something there. It's been shameful and I don't want to be ashamed anymore. But now that I'm hearing the story of the two of you, but like, and that's going to free some women to start to maybe find themselves in the midst of this as well. So the comments, people are just saying you're bringing great comfort to them, helping with trauma. And so I just want to applaud what you guys are doing in the podcast and sharing your story. I think you're going to bring opportunity for freedom to a whole lot of people. So thank you and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, you've been a great friend and ally through this whole process. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just telling Beecher the other day, I feel like I can't imagine life without you, Paul, even though I've never met you in person. You're just part of our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's absolutely an honor. So the podcast is The Non-Binary Marriage, and you can check it out on any of the platforms where they're out there. And also, of course, April and I, along with our friend Jeremy, do Evangelicalish every Wednesday night, where we're kind of stumbling through deconstruction of faith together and being on that journey as well. And so, again, thank you guys for being my guest. This is so much fun to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you, Paul.
Super cool. Thanks for joining us on bonus time of the Post-Evangelical podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this special time with April and Beecher. And thank you for your support of the Pastor Paul community. It keeps me going to give all the free content we give, hundreds of hours every month. Now, don't forget, go to the community chat board at pastor-paul.com and answer our community chat question from this podcast. Do you believe cisgendered monogamy is the only approved sexuality in the Bible? Love to hear your thoughts and the discussion on that. Also, on the community chat board, ask me any question you like, and I'll respond as quickly as I possibly can. Thanks for being with me on this journey. I'm Pastor Paul. We'll see you soon.